All right, literal equations day 2. We're going to take away your numbers for part of this. So now sometimes you might have only variables in your expression. And because I can't combine variables that are not the same, there's just going to be a lot of writing down what you would do. Okay, so for example, this one they want us to solve it for x. So we want to get this x all by itself. So we need to start moving other things away. Well, the p and the x are being multiplied, so I don't get rid of that first. I need to do my order of operations backwards. So I'm going to look for adding and subtracting, which means that I need to get rid of this r. Because it's a positive r, I'm going to subtract r from both sides. Okay, that'll leave me with my px on this side. And on the left side, t and r are not the same, so I can't combine them. So I'm literally just going to write down what I have. Negative t minus r. Let me get these out of the way. Okay, then I still have the p times x, and I want x by itself, so I need to divide them to get them apart. And if you remember, we divide everything by that p, which is going to cancel these out and leave me with x equals, I'm just going to erase it since they canceled out and I'm running out of space, x equals negative t minus r all divided by p. And that is as far as I can go because there are no more like terms and there's no more steps to get x by itself. So that's my final answer. Okay, let's try it here. We're going to solve for y. So I want to get this y by itself. Order of operations backwards says I need to do any adding and subtracting. Right now I have this that I need to get rid of. It is a positive m, so I need to subtract m. All right, m minus m disappears. We did not get rid of that minus, so we still have minus by on this side. And x and m are not like terms, so I just have x minus m on this side. To get the b and the y apart, I'm going to divide by this negative b. Don't forget that it's negative, and everything has to be divided by negative. So y is equal to x minus m divided by negative b. All right, sometimes they throw in one like this that has a trick, that has multiple of the same letter, but I still can't combine them. Because ax and bx are not the same, I have to figure out a different way to do this. So first of all, I'm going to show it to you with actual numbers so that hopefully it makes sense when you do with only variables. All right, so naturally we would probably combine these like terms and get 5x equals 35. And then we would know we could divide by 5 to figure out that x equals 7. Okay, easy. But over here, I can't combine those because the a times x and b times x are not quite the same thing. However, I could write it as a minus b all times x equals c. Agreed? All right, so now this kind of looks like distributive property, right? If I'm trying to get the x by itself, and it's being multiplied with everything in these parentheses, I should be able to divide by the a minus b on both sides. All right, well, these two would cancel each other out and leave me with just x. And because none of these variables are the same, I would leave it as c divided by a minus b. That's your final answer. Okay, so here's same idea. If you notice, we have an x in both of these. So I really have x times the m plus n. This is the distributive property. We just undid or did the inverse of the distributive property. Okay, well, they want us to solve it for x. So if I'm trying to get this x by itself, I should be able to divide by the m plus n. Oops, n. Okay, that will cancel this, leaving me with just the x. And on the right side, because none of them are like terms, I have p divided by m plus n. Okay, what equation do you get when you solve the equation a over x minus b over x equals c for x? All right, similar situation, but now it looks like we have some fractions. Whenever you're subtracting fractions, we need common denominators. Luckily, they gave us those here. Okay, so in this case, it would be the same as having 7 minus 5 over 9, which would give us 2 over 9. That means when I'm using just variables, it would be the same as having a minus b all over x. Okay, now they want us to go a step farther and get x by itself. This one's going to take a few extra steps because there's nothing that I can do to change this fraction unless I get the x off the bottom. So to get the x off the bottom, I need to multiply both sides by that x. So I will have a minus b equals c times x. All right, now I actually need to get the c and the x apart. Right now they're being multiplied, so I'm going to divide by c, and I find out that a minus b divided by c is going to be equal to x. Why don't you try this one using those same steps? Pause it here, try it on your own, and then come on back and you can watch me. Y should be equal to m plus n divided by d. All right, now they're going to show you when you might actually use this. So your next vocab word is formula, which states a relationship among quantities. And here is a list of all the formulas that you probably don't think about very often. So we have them here for you to use on your homework. Okay, what is the radius of a circle with circumference of 64 feet? Okay, so if we go back and we find our equation for circumference of a circle is c equals 2 pi r. Okay, we're wondering what is the radius. So what I want to keep is the r. I know circumference is 64, so 64 equals 2 pi r. Now it may be easiest to get r by itself first, and then we can plug in the numbers that we know. All right, let's make this a color we can see a little better. Okay, so if I'm trying to get r by itself and all of these are multiplying, I can divide by this whole chunk right here, right off the bat. Okay, none of these are like terms, so I have c divided by 2 times pi will give me the radius. All right, I'm looking for the radius, so I'm just going to put 64 in for my circumference because that's what they told me it is. You're welcome to use 3.14 if you'd like, or you can just leave it as pi. If you leave it as pi, you can leave it right here. If I change it to 3.14, then my answer is going to be about 10.2 feet. Okay, what is the height of a triangle that has an area of 242 inches squared and a base with a length of 8 inches? Okay, so the first thing I'm going to need to know is how to find the area of a triangle. If you look back at your chart, you'll find out that it's A equals 1/2 times the base times the height, or base times the height divided by 2. All right, and we are looking for what is the height. So that means we want that h by itself. Okay, if I'm trying to get h by itself, I think I'm going to work with the second version of this equation here. Okay, I'm trying to get h alone, which means I need to get this 2 off the bottom. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2, which gives me 2a equals base times height. Now I want to keep the h, get rid of the b, so I'm going to divide by b. And my height will be equal to 2 times the area divided by the base. All right, so there's my equation. Then it tells me the area is 242 inches, so I'm going to put that in for A. And the base has a length of 8, so we're going to put that in for B. All right, so my equation is actually going to say 2 times 242 divided by 8, which is going to give me a height of 60.5 inches. Pacific gray whales migrate annually from the waters near Alaska to the waters near Baja California, Mexico, and back. The whale travels a distance of about 5,000 miles each way at an average rate of 91 miles per day. About how many days does it take the whale to migrate one way? So with the keywords distance and rate, this one is going to be our D equals R times T. And they're asking us to find how many days it takes or the time. That's the amount of time that it takes the whale. So we want the T. Okay, so to get the T by itself, I have to divide by R. And that will tell me that the distance divided by the rate should give me the time. All right, well, we know the distance is 5,000. The rate is 91 miles per day. So we're going to plug that in. 5,000 divided by 91. And that will give me my time, which happens to be about 55 days. One way. Jonah is planting a rectangular garden. The perimeter of the garden is 120 yards. The width is 20 yards. What is the length? All right, so we're looking for the formula for the perimeter. Okay, to find the perimeter of a garden, we do 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. And we're looking for length. We want length by itself. All right, so if I'm trying to get length by itself, we're going to work backwards. We're going to move the 2 W's by subtracting them. Okay, so I will have P minus 2W equals 2L. And then I'm going to divide by 2 to get that L by itself. Okay, so my length will actually be equal to perimeter minus 2 times the width divided by 2. All right, then they tell me that the perimeter is 120, so I'm going to plug 120 in for the P. They tell me the width is 20, and we're trying to find the length. I'm going to change colors so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, 120 minus 40 gives me 80. Divided by 2 tells me that my length is 40 yards. Okay, last word problem for today. Karen walks 3 miles per hour and covers 12 miles. For how long did she walk? This is another distance equals rate times time, and we're wondering how long. So again, we're looking for the time. Keeping the T, which means I divide by R. D divided by R equals T. Miles per hour is our rate. 12 miles is our distance. So when I plug these in, I will have 12 divided by 3 equals T, which means that 4 hours is how long Karen walked. Okay. Okay, take your time on this. Ask me if you have any questions. Today you should be able to